Namadak yapi Jimredigal Macha. Manakota, Madakota, Malakota. I'm all three of the Ucheti Shikami. Uh, Nakota from Chega, Carry the Kettle First Nation in Sintaluta, Saskatchewan. My dad is from Montana. He's Dakota in the Ogallala, Lakota. And I live in the Black Hills with my family. Since most everybody and the viewers here are from various places, will stick mainly with English, but I'll use some Lakota words, and I'll try to explain them as best as I can, so you'll have understanding. It's an honor to be able to share knowledge and information, and from what I'm told that this, it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to all of us, and we're all relative in our traditional sense that how we look at one another. We're relative. We're all related through creation. I met a lot of people in my life journey, the Zuyamani, and when I was young, I started sun dancing, and through that participation in ceremonies, I met people who mentored me. Many of them are gone now. One of them was the late Archie Fire Lame Deer. I had a younger brother who was placed to Sundance, and he was killed. And my family came to me and wanted me to fulfill his pledge, and I said no. That I didn't know anything. I was 19. I said I don't know anything. And my mother was saying, if somebody doesn't fulfill his pledge, then he will be here on earth and he won't be able to go to where our ancestors were. So I thought about it later, and then finally I agreed to. And that set me on a path, a life journey of learning these things. And I was attracted to them. And I look back at my life now, I think it was because I come from medicine men and women. Me, I don't have a gift. I have a son that does have a gift. I turned it down because I didn't want that responsibility, and I was given something else in exchange. My gift is a dance maker. That's my ceremony. But my first life was Sundance and ceremony and going to them, and and that's where I started learning. I didn't think I knew anything, you know. Then when I was around 60, 65, I started all my mentors are all gone. Very few people, and I see things are changing, and our understandings of things are changing, and the internet is kind of bad for corrupting our culture. So I started sharing to help, you know, sharing what I heard from many people who are no longer here. So this session here, I'm gonna talk about the gift of medicine. Wahut'kan, Wahut'kan is the real word for describing medicine or saying the gift, the medicine. Nowadays we say pejuta. Most people say pejuta, you know. Wahut'kan is actually three words combined. Wakpe, the flowers, or the leaves, I mean. Hute, the stem. And kan. Kan is the vein, the life vein of the plant. And so that's where Wahut'kan comes from, those three words. If you use the word pejuta for medicine, that's actually two words too. Peji, the grass, and hute, the stem. Also, some use describe that as the root, but actually a ka is a root, is a life vein. From what when I heard was one time mankind in the beginning of creation was pretty bad towards our relatives, our four-legged relatives, our winged relatives, and they got tired of it, and they had a meeting, and they all came together to discuss our on Mother Earth, and from that discussion, the four-legged animal, Hodopa Oyate, the four-legged animal said, with my flesh, I'm going to create a disease to wipe out mankind from the earth. And that's how we're going to get rid of mankind, because his behavior is very terrible, very harmful to us, to our survival and to our future. So that was the agreement, and they parted. During that meeting, though, the plant nation, they heard what was discussed. And they came to mankind and said, we're going to offer our bodies, every part of our bodies, to help heal you of these diseases. And that's been the understanding since that time. And that's how medicine came about, and how we utilize it. Everything out there, if you walk around, when I walk around, I see medicines, different places. Yeah, I see them. Doesn't mean I pick them, but I know, acknowledge them, acknowledge who they are when I do walks. So that's what I was told about medicines. One time when I was young, I was a singer. I was sitting at this drum group and these guys said, "Hey, I think this drum over here is using medicine on us." So, yeah, when I was young, then I had a lot of older people I could talk to, my uncles, my grandmother, my grandparents, those people that came forward in my life to help me on my journey. So I called my grandpa at that time, and he told me, he said, this gift of medicine that is meant to help us, and those that use it to harm or to use it for good, it will come back on them. So, sometimes we think that it's going to come back and harm us, but you know, I guess it's a matter of opinion. When I went out the first time with Archie Fire, lame deer, we went out one when I was young, and we harvested willows to make a sweat lodge. And he had me take tobacco and offer a prayer and talk to the willow every time I cut one. So we did it for 4 times. He had me put it around the four directions around that willow, and we cut it. Then I did another, just the four. He said, just do it the four, and after that you can cut whatever we need. So that's same thing I still use when I go out and collect medicine. Like I said, I don't just take medicine, you know, uh, even though I know and where it is. I only take it if I need it, you know, and I do that practice. There was a long time ago we had a stick that we used to 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 take it called a Chaokie. Chaokie pound. We also used a pounding stick, as pounding a stone. Ia ichutu. You'd pound it like that, and you'd take after you prayed for that medicine, that plant, you'd pound it like that around it, and then take that medicine. This is a choke cherry. So once you take the bark off a choke cherry stick, it becomes very hard. And that pounding stone is whatever you whatever you whatever will fit in your hand and have enough weight when you pound on it. So just some things about that how to harvest. One time I was traveling with a young medicine man, and I was dancing in Shakopee, Minnesota, and a young medicine man wanted to stop in Pipestone, Minnesota. There's only a medicine that only grows there. There's certain places these medicines will only grow. Kyle, South Dakota is known for a medicine called Vijutahaka that only grows in Kyle. In Spearfish Canyon, there's a medicine that grows there, Chawizia. So there's certain places that, anyways, that he wanted to stop there and get that medicine. So here I pulled into a hardware store in that town, and he went in and he bought shovel, pick, and all that. And we took off to Pipestone, and he went to go get his medicine. Yeah, I just went. I went somewhere else to visit in the quarries there for Pipestone. Anyways, all those tools he bought broke trying to harvest that root. Anyways, just I thought about it later that you know I guess we adapt nowadays to what we have, what works. Anyways, there's these sticks. There are seven sacred sticks that we were given, and one of them is this chaokia. There's one for digging turnips. There's one for holding up the flaps on the teepee. There's one for sighting stars. There's one used in ceremony, Chayuza Wachi, the one with the fork. some of those sacred sticks that we were given and that we utilize. Now, I was talking about medicines. You know, you know, one thing I was told about medicine is chikia na waki unyapi. With prayer and sacrifice, that gives medicines power. Some of the most powerful, effective medicine men I know they give flesh. They give flesh when they make medicine and they pray over it. Just observation. I also learned from my late brother-in-law, Wanaprea Najija, Wilmer Mestis. His Lakota name was Stampede. You know, that's what he used, the cha'okia and the pounding stone when he gathered medicine. But, you know, I also learned that, you know, what gives medicine power is when you pray with it. And that's the difference between us and the Washichu philosophy of medicine. Last year, I was in the hospital. I had an operation on my leg, and they didn't take into account my age, and I had heart failure and kidney failure. And I was in the ICU because they had a line going into my heart, a PICC line. And I was taking medicine. It's a medicine, it's a mushroom that it's kind of like a fungus, but it's good for the insides. I was taking that. I had my wife bring it in. And I was chewing on it, and here the nurse got mad at me. Yeah, what are you eating? I told her, it's one of my medicines. It's good for the insides. I said, you guys have done your part. Now I got to do my part to help heal myself. And she was kind of mad, and she got upset and left. Come back, and I guess when she left, she told everybody in the ICU, all the nurses and doctors, that I was taking magic mushrooms. She said, what is that you're taking? And I said, well, the best thing I could describe it is like a mushroom. It's a fungus. And that's what I'm chewing. And I told her, I said, you know, the difference between our medicine is yours is that we pray for it. We pray. Prayer is the important part of medicine. So, anyways, that was just a little experience there, you know. I believe in that because it's helped me throughout my life. You know, I was given certain medicines by other people, even though I'm just a common man. You know, I'm not a medicine man. I'm just a common man. And there's medicines that is common. People we know about. I had a hair medicine one time. This lady gave me, old lady. She passed away, and she said, "You can't touch it. The only one that can touch it is the person that's going to fix it for you." And she says it has to be somebody who loves you, who cares about you. So this hair medicine, and they have to fix it for you and put it in your hair. Said, you know, it has to be a woman, and has to be somebody that loves you. You can't fix it yourself for yourself. And I learned that too. One time, my brother-in-law was in the hospital in Pine Ridge. His horse stepped on his foot, and he said, I know what I need to do, the medicine they need to make, but I can't make it for myself. Somebody has to make it. So there's just some things about medicine, you know. You know, when we use it, we pray with it. We have positive thoughts when we're preparing it. So there's some medicines that can't be in the home. You have to keep them outside the home because they're kind of dangerous. And so that's just a little bit about uh, medicines and the history of medicines. One I wanted to talk about, since this is the time of year, was Chanshasha. Chanshasha, the pipe tobacco, and that is a medicine. You don't think about it. The outer bark of it can be used as a tea if you have body aches or headaches, if you have arthritis. It's got a chemical in it, psilocin, which is kind of like aspirin, and you boil it and you make a tea. And anyways, I went out and I cut some red willow. We call it chanshasha, but the name for it is Chaukjemna Shicha, or in English you call it dogwood. Um, there's a story about why we use this. They said one time a young man went on a humbletia. For people who don't know what a humbletia means, a vision quest. And he went up on the hill for 4 days and 4 nights and fasted. And every day it's a time of prayer. So he was praying, and he was praying for a family member who was sick. And he was praying, and as he was praying, his tears fell down to the earth where he was sitting. After a while, a plant started to grow. For 4 days, he prayed and cried, and as tears hit the earth, and he said by the time he left, there was a fully grown bush. When he came down from the hill, they asked him, you know, well, did you have any dreams or experiences while you were up there? And tell us. He said, well, I was praying, my tears hit the ground, and where my tears hit the ground, this bush started to grow. And they interpreted that, they said that this will be a sacred plant that you'll utilize in the future. And that became the chanshasha that we load our chanupas, our pipes in today. The chanshasha is the foundation of it. Also, there's a story about a long time ago when the pipe first came. When the pipe came with it, there was a stick of chanshasha, of red willow, chunk gemna shicha. And when they loaded and used the pipe, they would take this and they would draw a circle on the ground all the way around. And they would sit inside this circle. And they said that whoever sat in that circle, they would glow bluish in color while they prayed and smoked the chanumpa, the pipe. They said everybody wanted that. And after a while, that stick disappeared. It was no longer used with it. But in the altar nowadays, we have one to represent that, one that came with that. That's the same stick that we make our pipe tobacco out of, chashasha. That's what I was told. We replaced that circle with chaliwapakta, the tobacco ties, the 405 that we make for a ceremony has been replaced with that circle that used to be drawn. And that defines the perimeter of an altar once it's set up. Interesting. When I asked one time, when the first time I had to make a chaliwapakta, I was explained to me that the 405 was actually the number of spirits in creation that are always here on earth. And that's how it was explained to me. And that was by Wanapreya Najicha, Stampede. And he shared that with me. That you hear people say, 50 each direction for above and below and above. So 400, then 5, 4 for the altar and 1 for you. But even that 50, they break it down. 7 for the 7 virtues, 7 for the 7 ceremonies, 7 times 7, 49 plus 1. But that's nowadays. That's give you an example of how understandings change then. That 405 is significant, and that represents all the spirits, original spirits in creation. Anyways, this time of year is Chanshasha Ipuzaye, the time to dry red willow, and that's begins at winter solstice, and we do that up until spring equinox. I use you want to be all traditional. I use a knife. There's but you could also use the edge of a file to take off the outer bark. You want to peel off the outer red bark. In the inner green, you can see how bright that green is. That's the one you want. I'm sure long ago, they probably used like a buffalo knife. This is a buffalo bone knife. You just peel it off like that. Chashpushpu. Chashpushpu, yeah, I mean stuff. to remove the outer bark. I heard they said they use a spoon. I've seen somebody said they use a plastic knife like you get at fast food. Um, but also, I use a heavy knife to just take off the inner bark. Um, this is one my nephew gave me when he served in Iraq. Another one you can use is, I guess they used to call them carpet knives. It's nice and curved, but anyway, that's how you take it off. I uh, I make my own tobacco every year. There's 4 ingredients that I use, and the proper word for that mix is chali ichahe, chali ichahe, and that's that tobacco mix. But like I said, nowadays people just say chashasha for their pipe mix. So I use red willow. I use chazi. Chazi is sumac, and you harvest sumac when the fall and the leaves turn red, and you only got like a short period of time because after they turn red, then they'll fall off. The other is chaliwakpe. Chaliwakpe they call bearberry leaf. And around here, where I live, the only place to get it is up high in the Black Hills. And you'll start seeing it grows close to the ground. And we call it chaliwakpe. Chali is tobacco leaf. The other one, the fourth ingredients I use is called chashishila. And chashishila is what we call in English chamomile. So those are the four. I don't use white man's commercial tobacco because it has chemicals in it. All these four that I use, they're all a medicine, and they're good. They're good for our respiratory system. So actually, when you're making traditional pipe tobacco, you're making medicine, and it's important what you put in your pipe. Important what you pray with, you know. While we're doing this here, like I said, until springtime, our ancestors are doing it up in the spirit world. And the Big Dipper is a pipe in the sky, in the star world. In the Big Dipper, the bowl, if you look at it, and it's shaped like it's got the handle, is the stem of that pipe. And they say our ancestors are feeling that this time too. They're making chashasha and they're filling that pipe all winter long. At the spring equinox, the official equinox time, the sun aligns with the bowl in the Big Dipper, and that is symbolizes that spring has come, and it lights that bowl that's been filled. So today people go and they go towards Black Elk Peak, and they welcome back the thunder then, Wahut'kan. the thunder returns. And the significance of that is that that marks our new year, the new year in creation. So just to share one reason why we do it. And we do it during this time because the plant is dormant. And I mentioned that about the bark has certain chemicals in it. Well, when a plant goes dormant, everything goes down to the roots. It's like in a survival mode. So something will go down. So it doesn't have that bitter taste. So, and that's why we make it in wintertime. This is Chashasha Ipuzaye time to make dry willow. All this time when you're doing these things, you have positive thoughts. If you're feeling bad, don't do it. Set it aside till you feel good, till your mind and your heart and your spirit is in a good place. When you take the time to do these things, that's what gives your prayers power. Anybody can go out and buy a pack of cigarette, package of tobacco. But if you know the process of making this, then you understand what it takes and how long it takes. Because you go out, you pray, you gather these sticks, you pray, you have good thoughts when you're making it. Me, I make a lot this year. Every year, I'll fill this up. What I do is I donate it to different sun dances and different people I know, spiritual leaders. My way of helping out. I can't dance no more. I can't even sweat anymore because of my health conditions. So I try to do something and help them out in that way. And that's what gives it. If you believe in this, it gives it power. Is when you take the time to go do something and the effort, and you have positive thoughts that you put in from yourself. That's what gives them power. It's like if you have somebody make medicine for you, or you make medicine for somebody else. What you do goes into it. It's like cooking. Food is a medicine, and those that prepare food, they put their love into it, their feelings. The same thing. To sum it up in the word, it's love. And that's what gives it power. The same thing with medicine. A person who loves you and they make medicine for you, that power of medicine goes into that's what gives it strength. And that's what gives it healing power. Just my understanding of it. Now, you don't have to, smudge these things when you're making them, your pipe tobacco, because when you load the pipe, you use this medicine, sweetgrass. And sweetgrass is one of 4 original medicines that we were given. And a lot of people don't understand our medicines and what they're used for. Sweetgrass is for prayers. You know, when we load our pipe, we burn sweetgrass. We take that pinch of tobacco and we load our pipe with it. We azalea with that sweetgrass. The sweetgrass is for prayers. Just like cedar. Cedar is, you know, cedar is an offering, a wasnapi, an offering. You know, and I always see that at Sundance. You know, that we have young boys, young girls taking cedar around, and people come and they smudge themselves and all that. But really, what that cedar is for the spirits that come, the spirits and relatives that come, so they'll stay around. That's one of the things I learned from that Archie Fire. First time I got an eagle feather. You know, he said, "What do I do? You know, with it? You know, how do I prepare it to use it?" He said, "Well, you take cedar and you smudge it with cedar." He said, "The cedar is an offering for spirits. The eagle loves the smell of cedar." So, you know, and that's the same thing, you know, that not even the eagle, but the thunder beings, the wakio, yet they love the scent of cedar. And the wakio, yet the thunder beings, they carry our purse too, directly to the crater. So that's important, just those two things, those two medicines there. Um, you know, when I go and I harvest medicines, then I'll tie them up in a bunch and I'll hang them upside down with the flowers on the bottom and the leaves and the root up high up. So if I'm going to make a tea with it, then all that moisture and the power goes down into those flowers and the tea. I mean, in the leaves that I'll make a tea out of. It's one way I store medicines. So, Wahut'kan is protocols that we learn. You know, we learn. Everybody has their own protocols or ways of doing things that we learn, and these were some that were shared with me. Um, so I just hope I explained everything. Um, you know, you want the green in their bark for pipe tobacco. I'll share one medicine I like to use. It's not around here. This is a chanakpa, but they call them chanakpa because it looks like an ear, tree ears. There's different kinds of tree ears. And you think about what it is fungus, you know, the fungus heals a tree. So some trees are self-healing, you know. This is what they call a diamond willow fungus. It's a fungus that we only get it in springtime when after the rains. after the rains, you get this medicine, and because it's soft. Afterwards, after spring and the summers, it's hard. It's hard to get. There's another one like this that a lot of people use called chaga. Chaga is like a dark fungus that grows on the on trees up high in elevation, up into Canada and places like that. There's some in the Black Hills. I've seen it. Like I said, when I travel around, I look at where medicines grow, so I know where they're at. But I didn't I didn't take it. I just acknowledge it's there. If I ever need it, I know where to go. But this is also Kawachi Pijut for the mind. You know, this this will heal, help you if you have migraines, severe migraines, headaches. Uh, I have an uncle who was who Pejuta Wichasha, a bone sucker. And not too many of them around. I think he's kind of like the last one. They use a bone to suck the sickness out of you. But he uses that in ceremony. He'll breathe it in, and he said, breathe it in so they'll listen to me. The spirits will listen to me and hear me. He was also on council. He said I would use this when I had an important speech to make it, burn it and breathe it in so people would have to listen. It's a medicine that we have to focus your mind. But it has other uses. I use it in thunderstorms, tornadoes, to turn them away. I just share that. Uh, One of my favorite medicines that I use. Like I said, a long time ago, these medicine men, they had maybe 10 medicines that they used, that they relied on. And they understood their uses. Some of them were given them through dreams. And I was told there's no difference between what's happening now and a dream. It's all experienced by our spirits. So, my grandpa, he was my great grandpa. He was a very powerful medicine man. His hopper was the stones, and he used the June berries. In Canada, they call them Saskatoons. Those were his two hoppers, the Saskatoon and the Juneberry. I mean, the Juneberry and the stones, Ia. My grandpa, who learned his medicine from my great grandpa, his was the magpie was his messenger, and my grandma had medicine. My mom used to help her with the medicine. She did ceremonies for women. Nowadays, you don't hear too much about women that have that gift. But from what I understand in my teachings, is women are more powerful. Women are closer to medicines because they're life givers. So my grandma had My great grandma had medicine too. My mom used to help her, and my grandma would, my great grandma, with my kunshi, we say, she would do ceremonies for women, and my mom would help her. She would help her prepare the puppy for her ceremonies. My mom told me about how she'd have to swing and pray with that puppy, prepare it for my grandma. I heard some of the things she used to do. She had cataracts in her older age. And if you could imagine that, nowadays we get surgery. She'd have my mom go get a certain blade of grass. And my grandma would hold her eye open. My mom would have to take that glass and rub it on her eye. And that's how she cleared her eye of cataract. Hey, it should be kind of tough, you know. I don't know if I could do that. Hold my eye open and have somebody put a blade of grass across it. But yeah, that's how she would do it. My grandpa, he could see into the future. One of his gifts with his eon, he could predict the future. And one time in the early days, there was a sickness. You know, one of them was like tuberculosis. We didn't have no cures for it right away. So they came to my grandpa and they asked him for help. And so he went and prayed. He didn't have any, he wasn't given an answer, but he saw into the future. And he told him, he said, one morning when it's foggy outside, a man's going to come dressed in black, riding a black horse. And he's going to carry a bag that's going to have the cure in it. So they said one day a man rode into the agency. It was foggy out. And he had a medicine. Yeah, I was in Hawaii, and I hear about their history, and it's the same as ours. The colonization. Many sicknesses and diseases came that we didn't have. We didn't have cures for. But so kind of they lost a lot of people due to the same illnesses that we suffered from. Smallpox, whooping cough, tuberculosis. Just about all my grandma's brothers and sisters, and even my grandmother, the whole family died of tuberculosis. And my mother and her brother are the only survivors. So I come from a small family. I don't know, what do I have on the time?
We have about 7 minutes left, 8 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
You got some time.
All right. Well, kind of, the next time, the next session, I'm gonna talk about the four directions and the creation of the four directions. within each direction, there's 7 things: a color, a plant, a tree, a winged relative, a 4-legged relative, a medicine, and a virtue. So often we think in 4, but if you take your thought further, understanding there's 28. 28 is significance in that that's the number of spokes in the medicine wheel in the Bighorn Mountains. 28 is significant because 28 is the number of poles for a Sundance Lodge. 28 is the number of willows for a sweat lodge. 28 is the cycle of a moon. 28 is the cycle of woman's. 28, the number of feathers in a Wapara bonnet, feather bonnet. So I'll talk about that in the 4 medicines that are in those 4 directions. And I'm going to talk about in the next session too is a traditional feast and how it's done. Nowadays, I don't see no traditional feast. People put them down and, oh, we're going to do a traditional feast. But the cook, traditional feast is my grandmother was a Hechinska Yohawi spoon keeper. And the spoon is a spoon from a bighorn sheep. And the spoon comes from the right side, the heart side. And that's what that spoon keeper position is. My grandma they would call her and they would come get her when they had a death or they had a reason to have a traditional feast. They would come and get my grandmother. And I would help my grandmother because in a traditional feast, the boys serve and there's protocols for how the food is served. Traditional feast, they set the food in the middle and each food group goes in a different direction. So nowadays I don't see that people put it up buffet style. And my grandma, I used to tell her, I said, if we don't do it and show people, it's going to disappear. So I used to do it with her. My job was to go and to get the person that was going to pray, make the plate, take the plate out, and bless the food. That person, they did all those 4 things. Yeah. Then I would have to talk to the servers, young boys. And when we have young boys serve, that teaches them. That teaches them to be of service to the people. Because young Wahut'kan, young boys, they're pure. There's Wahut'kan, the servers. So I'll talk about that because food is sacred too. Food is a medicine. We comfort people. We heal people. We use food as a wopula, a thanksgiving. We offer these foods. There's 7 sacred foods that we have. Bear heart, elk heart, a buffalo tongue, a buffalo heart, buffalo kidney, wasna, and hudopa, wahapi, puppy. Those are the 7 sacred foods that we have. So this food is a medicine. So I'll talk about that as well the next session.